Hi everyone, it's Em here with a video in between the videos. I might look in the wrong direction because I had to switch the camera around a little bit, but you'll get the idea of what I'm talking about. So anyway, I've been actually wanting to make this video for quite some time now. I want to say for like 8 months or so, and I'm so glad to finally be piecing this together. I wanted to come on here and share some of the top, I think it's the five regrets that I had early in the journey. That being said, just as a disclaimer, obviously my locks turned out just fine. I have locks, they're growing, they're prospering, they're thriving. And so, even with these mistakes that I made or things that I, didn't do but could have done or done better, even in spite of that, everything turned out just fine. So I just wanted to be sure to say that. But these are just things like if I had to do my locks over again or anything like that, these are things that I would probably do differently. So I will have my phone on me so I can make sure to get to all the points. So the first thing I wanted to say was I actually wish that I had started my locks with two strand twists. This is for quite a few reasons. One of the reasons is that I noticed early in my journey when my locks were actually started with comb coils, and there were a few locks that I have that actually didn't stay locked, and they're actually in the back here. So this lock here, this lock I ended up having to redo on my own, but I ended up redoing it as a two-strand twist. And when I did that, the result was that my locks locked faster. I have 4C hair, what would be considered 4C hair. So my hair always wants to tangle up. It always wants to lock. It always just wants to it always wants to shrink. It always wants to, get as curly and mingle as possible. So it's responded really, really well to a two-strand twist. I was surprised by how quickly this lock locked. It locked at the same rate as the rest of them, even though I didn't do this one until maybe 2 months into the lock journey. My locks, I would say, were completely locked at oh my gosh, actually, no, maybe my locks completely locked sometime between 8 and 12 weeks. They were completely and fully locked, but this lock like really caught up with the group really quickly. And I also what I liked about doing the two-strand twist for this is that no matter what you do, or at least for me, no matter what I did, that two-strand twist always held up because it's twisted. And then the way I did it is I braided it on the ends. I did the same thing to start my sister's locks. So when I started her locks, we did her entire head with two-strand twists, two-strand twisting it, then braiding it on the end to seal it. So she was able to do anything. She went swimming, she did all kinds of things, and had no limitations because of how we did it. When I started with my comb coils, they were a little more touch and go. Like they could come unraveled, and also because of the product. But I'll be talking about the product as one of my other points. But yeah, so I realized that would have worked really well for me. And I also liked the way the two-strand twist appeared when my locks were locking. So, the two-strand twist had a much more uniform look compared to, the comb coil. So the comb coils, like I could have these huge puff balls, and then like a thin squiggly type of comb coil at the end, or like towards the end. It could be like this long, for example. Like maybe my hair wasn't very long, but it would be big puff, then maybe like a little, little like thing at the end. And it just, for me, it didn't have quite the look that I felt was like what I wanted to look like at work. But like I said, they all got to this. So with my locks, majority of my locks started with comb coils, and it all turned out. But I definitely, if I had to do it all over again, though I have no intention of starting again, I'm enjoying these locks. But if I had to, I would definitely restart. I would do them with a two-strand twist for sure. So my next point. All right. The next point I wanted to bring up was a mistake I made. I can't remember, maybe at 8 or 9 months into the journey, and I actually clipped my ends. So as I had talked about before, like with the comb coils, you know, some parts of the lock, like maybe the upper part of the lock, it was puffy. Then like there'd be like a thinner part. Eventually, once the locks became more uniform through the lock and I could, you know, they looked more like locks, I'd still have these squiggly ends. Some of the ends were squiggly and could have been up to like an inch long and just like those little squigglies at the end. And again, you can always refer back to my previous lock videos to see for yourself what it looked like. But so I actually ended up, I went a little crazy and I was like, I'm just gonna cut some of these because some of them I just felt I didn't like the way it looked. So I was like, I'll just cut it. I'm not scared. I wasn't scared to cut my hair. I didn't want to have cut the lock, the actual main body of the lock, but the thin ends, I was like, it's not gonna be too bad. But after I did that, I ended up getting like some of my little pieces, like my curls and stuff like that, fell out. It's like, you know, like I have very tight curls. So I would just see them like come off, like some of them would just shed, I guess, in the shower or something like that whenever I'd wash my hair. And I really wish I hadn't clipped the ends. I should have just stuck with it. It would have been perfectly fine. But I think I got impatient to see whether it was going to work out or not. But again, that being said, look, I still have the locks and everything turned out. But I would not do that again. I think the clipping just, it kind of messed up the sealed end of the lock, you know, because the lock had its own way of sealing and I kind of messed that up. I was trying to see if I can find any examples. I don't see any. Okay, I don't see any examples, but you get the idea maybe. So the next thing I want to talk about was I wish that I had consistently moisturized my locks. I already know, you know, I know to do this now, and I did do it throughout my journey, but I did not do it consistently. So there would be long periods of time where I forgot to moisturize my locks. I forgot. I also didn't understand the concept of moisturizing for what moisturizing was for my locks. And for my locks, what moisturizing consists of and when they thrive best is if I've wet the lock, I've wet the body of the locks, and then coated them in some type of oil. I didn't understand where that works. So at some points I was just spraying my hair with water and all kinds of stuff. But anyway, now I have something that now I know what to do, but I made it so that I was forgetting, but some way that I cured this is that I put my oils near my lotion, which I use all the time, particularly during the winter. So I put it near the lotion, and that way when I go to get the lotion, I can remember, oh, do I need to moisturize my hair or not? And I can kind of think about that and take action. Because I was waiting until I felt my locks were super dry, and that's by that point they're less healthy. So for me, health is more important to me. Health has always been more important to me in the journey. I'd rather have healthy locks than like, you know, a certain type of like look or anything like that. So for me, number one was like I really need to stay on top of moisturizing, and now I am a lot more diligent about it. But that was definitely something I wish earlier on in the journey that I had, you know, understood a little bit better for my hair. The next thing I want to talk about was using gels. For me, okay, so I got my locks started by a loctician, as some of you guys may already know, and the loctician used the Talia Wajid. I can't remember. I think it was called like the tight hold gel or something like that. I can't remember the exact name of the gel, but this gel was you know, and it was fine. For a lock gel itself, it was fine. Actually, it had a nice smell. It worked. It was, I mean, it held the locks together. But for me, and again, this is just my perspective on how it worked with my locks. I don't find the gels very helpful for me, because when it comes to locking and my understanding of locking, having observed different changes in my locks over time and what worked, what didn't work, my locks work best when my hair's been wet with water and it has a chance to like tangle and rub up. So like, especially like when I'm shampooing and it's like, you know, the locks would get tangled within the thing itself, it helped the locking process. And to have another product in there to me, interfered with that and also created unnecessary buildup. So I want the lock to be able to lock, not having this product in there and interfering with the hair being able to tangle. I don't use any products per se outside of like, I mean, I use like a shampoo from Trader Joe's, but outside of that, I don't use products in the journey at all. And I don't feel the need to. I like to keep things very, very, very simple with my appearance. I don't, y'all see, I don't even wear any makeup. So I don't like to add anything extra that doesn't need to be added. If my hair can thrive without it, I'm not going to use it. So even when it came to retwisting my locks, I learned over time I don't need these gels. My locks can hold, well, they'll lock just fine, or they can do that just fine when I wet my hair and I retwist the hair, and then I will put like castor oil or something on top after it's already been twisted, but I don't want anything weaving throughout and stopping that lock from being able to tangle. Again, just that this is just a little thing that I've when working with for my locks. You guys know some of you guys know that I don't retwist my locks very often anyway. I prefer my locks I prefer my locks to be thicker and freer and have like a fuller look. So for me, like that's kind of my thing. But if I do retwist, and when I do retwist, yeah, I will definitely just do water and then coat it with castor oil or something afterwards. And it's been working just fine for me. So so that was something else that I wanted to note. And again, at any point, feel free to leave questions below if you have any questions about anything that I've said. The last thing I wanted to mention was that one of the other regrets I had was not doing anything with my locks for the first 4 weeks. Now, this may tie in partly with the fact that I started my locks with comb coils versus 2-strand twists, because when I got my locks started by the loctician, her instructions were, don't do anything with your locks for the first 4 weeks. Do nothing, like absolutely nothing. Don't, nothing. She said, don't wash them, don't do anything. And like, I'm like, okay. So, so basically when, to start the locks, she did these comb coils and everything, and then put in, has the gel in it as she's comb coiling it, and it just holds. But upon thinking back on that, and then of course comparing it to the locks in the back that I had to redo with 2-strand twists, doing nothing when it comes to locks for me was not the most helpful as far as getting them to lock. I actually found it most helpful. There was, I think after my second retwist, that was I think I've only went to the loctician maybe 2 or 3 times. And after my second time going to the loctician, like I was less scared to wash my hair. I don't remember why, because they said, oh, my hair responded well after it was getting shampooed. It got tangled really well. So, the individual coils started to tangle after the shampoo. But I was thinking, I'm like, wow, so it was the shampooing that got my hair to start to lock. The purpose of the comb coil was to get my hair in individual strand or individual groups that would form individual locks. But actually, like thinking like big term, like, well, if it's shampooing that's doing it, that means that just doing nothing to my locks is, while your hair will lock no matter what, of course, I know this, but as far as like getting things to lock faster, because I wanted to be able to do more, I got my locks done in April, and I wanted to be able to swim. I want to be able to work out. There were so many different things I want to be able to do. And I didn't want to be limited by my hair, because that would defeat the purpose of why I got locks. So I did whatever it took to lock them faster. And so I got more comfortable washing them. So I feel like my hair